All right. What is up, everyone? Very excited for today's video. I want to talk about one of the most powerful forces in the market that not too many people think about. All right. And that's going to be buybacks. Okay. So we're going to go over some data showing buybacks. And this is just one of the reasons why, we're seeing the market so high, right? Hitting all-time highs. And a lot of people have questions. How can this be happening? AI is a bubble, yada, yada, yada. Buybacks are a very big, important part of the market. And we'll go ahead and break that down. So we'll go over some really good data by corporate clients, really breaking down, some good charts here we've got from Bank of America. We'll talk about some earnings growth. All right. This is some data from FactSet. And we'll talk about the different sectors individually where we've been seeing some very nice increases. Okay. And then I want to talk about a buyback ETF. There's the PKW. Okay. This is the Invesco Buyback Achievers ETF. We'll go over the top 10 holdings in that. And then there is the S&P 500 buyback index, as well as the buyback free cash flow index. All right. These are two other things, really three, if you go over the first ETF, three things that you guys can help use to, monitor and track stocks that have good buyback records, okay, and are, doing some really nice buybacks. So I just wanted to share that information with you guys and bring it to you. I think it's definitely interesting, and you're probably going to want to check some of those companies out and dive a little bit deeper. All right, we'll go over the sector breakdowns of each of those ETFs as well, or those indexes. However, as always, the content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only. It's not intended to be relied upon as legal, financial, or investment advice. So be sure to read through the disclaimer. And if you're new to the channel, I got a completely free newsletter for you guys called Investment Intelligence. I give out free, valuable finance and trading related content. And I even try to sprinkle in some free trade ideas in there. I know a lot of the trade ideas recently have been going pretty well. There is a website associated with it, so you guys can check out the website, check out some of the previous articles that have been written, see if it's something you want sent directly to your email inbox. Now, you can get into the Investment Intelligence private trading group using promo code Powell. Okay, that will get you guys 50% off your first 2 months. And what's inside of there, you get 20 plus swing trade ideas every week, custom scripts and indicators, exclusive intel, exclusive chart layouts. And you also get access to the Pulse Radar, okay, which is a short-term swing trade list anywhere from 1 to 30 days. And then you also get access to the Zone Finder, okay, which is an intraday to swing trade list, which is just what it sounds like, right? This is going to be a list of stocks where you're looking for anywhere from a day trade to a 1 to 5 day swing trade. So a little bit of something for everybody in there. We've got some long-term plays and stuff like that in there as well. But if you're someone who's very short-term or, looking for plays that they can get into every week, right, and rinse and repeat, or if you're someone who is looking for plays that you can swing for maybe a week or perhaps 30 days, you guys will be really interested in those products. All right, if we talk about the Pulse Radar, PCG was one that we had last month. Nice inverse head and shoulders pattern. The stock was trading around $18. And then very shortly afterwards, in about 2 weeks, it exploded above $20. Very nice move there. And then the Zone Finder, I actually included the very first trade idea from the Zone Finder into the newsletter whenever we debuted the Zone Finder. And that was on Bristol Myers. That had a very nice falling wedge into a demand zone. And that one played out very, very well. Best Buy was another one in September that we had. Right, looking at the inverse bump and run pattern there in a three-wave Elliott wave setup. We talked about the 1-2 setup right here, looking for wave 3. Those calls went up over 100%. But let's get into the video, okay? Now, when we look at buybacks by corporate clients as a percentage of the S&P 500 market cap, these are now above the 2019 highs. So what we're seeing is just a huge increase, right? We had this stagnative period, okay? And we see 2021, the market kind of topped out, right? That was right before the 2022 bear market. And you can see this went sideways. Since 2023 and into 2024, we've just seen a massive explosion in buybacks, specifically as a percentage of the S&P 500 market cap. Being that these are above the 2019 highs, it makes a lot of sense, right? When you talk about the stock market being at all-time highs, we're seeing corporate clients doing these large buybacks we're seeing, very high levels as a result of that. Now, when you look at buybacks by corporate clients, it is off its historical highs in June, but it's still a very elevated level, right? If we just take a look at this, right, and we come in here, we see we're off of the highs in June, right? But when we look at where we're at historically, we're still very, very high. So the amount of buybacks that we've just been seeing since 2023, the average is just much higher than what we've seen over the last 15 years. And so again, this is something that's really just helping push the market higher. And this is another one of those things that's behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize is a force, really sending shares higher across across the stock market. Now here we've got corporate client buybacks above S&P 500 buybacks trend. All right, so we're looking at the 4-week average buybacks year over year, and then we've got S&P 500 buybacks year over year. And we can see the 4-week average buybacks year over year is above trend, right? And, basically above the S&P 500 buybacks year over year. Now, what are some areas, okay, that could be benefiting from this? Not just the buybacks, but, where are we seeing earnings forecasts increasing, right? And earnings growth. Well, healthcare, okay? If we take a look at healthcare, it's up 15.4 points from 5.9. We've got information technology up 2.5 points from 18.7%. We've got materials up 23.1 points from negative 4.7%. Okay. We've got energy up 22.3 points from negative 11%. So, the top beneficiaries and, the S&P 500 earnings growth, the top sectors that are projected, we're looking at materials, we're looking at healthcare, and we're looking at energy. Okay, so those are some areas where you could perhaps dive a little bit deeper into the market. Find some of these healthcare stocks that you're interested in. There's a lot of those Ozempic related stocks. Eli Lilly, there's Novo Nordisk, there's Viking Therapeutics. A lot of those stocks are driving the earnings growth, as those products and those drugs are in high demands right now. A lot of people want them. I'm sure you guys are seeing commercials for them, you're seeing ads for them, and they're able to charge a nice price on that and have some nice margins. And there's also new products coming, right? There a lot of people have the shots, okay, that you have to take. And now there's pills and other things coming as well, different ways to ingest that. Now, PKW. Okay, look at this right here. This is a very, very beautiful chart. Okay, what we're looking at is the Invesco, which is the company that does the ETF for QQQ. Okay, so this is the Invesco Buyback Achievers ETF. This is a monthly time frame. We're going back to the inception of this ETF here, and just using some Fibonacci extensions. Okay, if you guys are new to the channel or familiar with the channel, I really like to use the fibs a lot. Makes things very clean, very easy. And just like nature does, the stock market tends to respect these levels very well. And what do you see? We're coming up on a Fibonacci extension right here, right at about 115.47. Okay, and these fib levels are very respectable. Okay, you can see we break above the previous fib level, retest it as support, and we end up pushing higher. So, this just looks very good. This is clearly in an uptrend right here. You could draw a bullish channel. And when you zoom out and you take a look again at like a monthly chart, you can see how well things look, right? It eliminates a lot of the noise over the past 2 months where things have been trading lower, perhaps a little bit messy, and you get to see that, hey, we're actually just continuing to move higher. Now, the top 10 holdings in that ETF are going to be T-Mobile, Johnson & Johnson, Booking Holdings, Comcast, Lockheed Martin, Deere, HCA Healthcare Inc., Pfizer, PayPal, and Marriott International. Now, that's just the top 10 holdings, but those top 10 weightings are about 40%, nearly half of that ETF. And these are some names that not too many people maybe thinking about, right? Maybe these stocks aren't up 150% on the year, but obviously with them having almost 50% whole weighting, you can see that the trend is flowing nicely. So maybe these are some names that you can dive into individually and see if there's any of those, or perhaps you can diversify the portfolio with something like the PKW. Now, there is the buyback index, okay, which has underperformed the S&P 500 slightly. But it's still just something good overall to track. Now, this is just an index. I don't believe there's an ETF that you can buy to get exposure to this. Okay. So it's more of just tracking the constituents, right? And when you take a look at the sector breakdown, a lot of it is in consumer discretionary, healthcare, financials, energy, and communication services. All of those having a 10% or higher weighting when it comes to the sector breakdown. Now, there's also the buyback free cash flow index, which has actually outperformed the stock market, okay, and outperformed the S&P 500, which I think is really interesting. And I'd love if someone knew if there's an ETF that you can, get exposure to this, or if there's anything similar. But what this is doing is it's combining a free cash flow system to it as well, along with the buybacks. And this one's weighted a little bit differently. Financials 22%, consumer discretionary 17%. So, financials have a larger weighting in this index than we do in the previous one, where consumer discretionary and healthcare were both above financials. Here we've got financials, consumer discretionary, then industrials, then healthcare, and then information technology, all with a 10% weighting or higher. So, this index right here is really interesting, and this just goes to show and kind of emphasize the point that I was making about buybacks and how this is secretly, helping push the market higher, helping drive stock returns higher and stock prices higher. And this one, there's many periods where this has, outperformed the S&P 500 very well. And there's periods where it underperforms a little bit. That happens. But I think that that's really interesting, that since its inception, this one's actually outperformed the S&P 500. So that wraps up today's video. Just wanted to give you guys some really useful info. We got to talk about buybacks more in the stock market. And you're going to be hearing it a lot in all of these earnings calls. If you've been paying attention, you've been hearing it in these earnings calls. So don't forget, if you want access to all my different trade ideas, all the different tools and resources we have, you guys can get into the Investment Intelligence Private Trading Group using promo code Powell. That will get you guys 50% off your first 2 months. Okay. Inside of there, 20 plus swing trading days every week, custom scripts and indicators, exclusive intel, exclusive chart layouts. You get access to all these different analysis, right? All of these plays were from the analysis. And if you're someone who just wants, something specific like the pulse radar, you can sign up for just the pulse radar, right? And get access to those scripts and indicators, get access to that scan, all right, and get access to my analysis on the pulse radar. Again, this is what, the plays are going to look like, right? We've got the anchored VWAP on here. You guys will get that indicator for Thinkorswim. We're talking about the inverse head and shoulders pattern here. We've got our neckline clearly established. We broke out right past that neckline in yellow here and it just went off to the races. The zone finder, okay, you also, if you want to sign up for that, you can get access to the indicator, the script, and the scan for the zone finder separately, aside from the whole Discord. And in there you'll get separate analysis. What's really great about that is it draws the demand zones for you, it draws the supply zones for you, giving you guys a very nice risk to reward ratio in each scenario, right? Where your risk is much smaller than your reward, which is a favorable setup that most people look for and most people want. All right. There's also the newsletter that's completely free. Check out that website, sign up for that using the link in the description as well. And if you ever want a coaching session, or you want to do a one-on-one Zoom session or anything like that, check out my Ko-Fi page, click on the commissions tab right here. And in there, you can book a 30-minute or a 1-hour session. Okay. They also have this buy a coffee button, basically a way to leave a tip or donation for all the free valuable content I put out, such as the YouTube videos and the newsletter. I appreciate y'all watching, and I'll see you in the next one.